Welcome back to the channel, everyone. I am Skylar James, and today we're going to be talking about the clash of two tech titans. I am referring to Facebook and Apple. Okay, so Apple and Facebook, you might be asking, why would these two be fighting? Well, that's what we're going to get into in today's video. I'm sure all of you guys know Tim Cook. He's the CEO of Apple. What he says about Facebook is that they are lying to us and they are misleading us. Okay, so what is Facebook's response? Well, Mark Zuckerberg and Facebook responded by filing antitrust lawsuits against Apple. Look, we're not in kindergarten anymore, so when the CEOs of two of the world's most valuable companies start pointing fingers and calling each other liars and filing lawsuits, there better be some very serious reasons behind it. In today's video, we're going to get into the dirty details of why these two are duking it out, who's going to win, and how you and I can take advantage. It might be surprising, but these two haven't always been enemies. No, actually back in 2014, 2014, let's say that a different way. Back iPhone 11, iPhone 10, 9, 8, 7, 6. So back when the iPhone 6 came out, Tim says, and I quote, "I do not consider Facebook to be a competitor. I consider them to be a partner." Well, this sounds very different than where we're at today. Watching Tim Cook and Mark Zuckerberg hash out their philosophical differences in a public venue has been absolutely fascinating to watch. In case you haven't been following along, Apple released new privacy features on all of their products due to what they're terming data exploitation. Now, this new change will enable Apple users to disallow developers to track your usage across different apps and websites. By now, we're all well aware that our data is actually being tracked. Okay, but I bet most of you would be very surprised to learn how much information they actually have on us. So for most, it all starts with building a profile on Facebook. So we voluntarily go to facebook.com and we build a profile about who we are so we can interact with other people. Let's take a quick pause right there. Let me talk about how many profiles Facebook actually has. They have 90% of the world's population. So they have 2.8 billion monthly active users. So 2.8 billion people a month go on Facebook.com website or app and use it on a regular basis. Now hold on, you might be saying, I don't have a Facebook profile, so this doesn't really apply to me. It actually still does. You are wrong. Unfortunately, you are absolutely wrong, and I'll explain why. Facebook is so sophisticated that they have found ways to track and build profiles on users and non-users of their website. This profile contains fairly common stuff like your age, your gender, where you work, where you live. But this profile also has biometric data on you. They start to learn what your face looks like through facial recognition. They learn what your skin type looks like, what's your height, what's your weight. They have also learned who are your friends, where do you like to shop, how long do you like to shop for, what do you like to shop for. Okay, so you might be thinking, but how is Facebook gathering all this information? Is it just from Facebook.com and from their application? How are they doing it? Let's go through a typical scenario here. You go to Facebook.com. What they do is they log a unique identifier to you. It's called your IP address. It's something like a string of numbers like 1, 2, 3, 4, 9. Now let's say you leave Facebook and you go to some other website, you're going to do some shopping. They also log your IP address. It's the same number, it's 1, 2, 3, 4, 9. So now they each have separate profiles. Facebook knew what you did earlier in the day. The shopping website knew what you did later in the day. So because they have separate profiles, what they actually do is they get together and they trade information. They say, hey, I have information on IP address 12349. They say, hey, I do too. Let's actually trade that information. So they trade the activity that you were doing on each of those websites. Now, where Facebook becomes even more powerful is they no longer think of IP address 12349 as an anonymized number, string of numbers. They think about it as you. They actually have a profile and a name on you that they can tie to so much more information out there. By now, our profiles have become so robust. So many entities have been tracking our information for so many years. Imagine if you leave the house. Before you leave, you go ahead and you check the weather. So now you're checking weather for a specific city. Let's imagine you're going out to the beach. So you want to see if the beach has nice weather. Cool, they have now logged that you're looking at the beach and you're probably going to go there. You now get in your car and you put in Google Maps, the nearest beach address. So now Google Maps is tracking you as you drive from your house all the way out to the beach. Right before you get to the beach, you decide, hey, I want to stop and I want to get a cup of coffee. So now they know that you're a coffee drinker. You get out your credit card and you pay for that cup of coffee at their kiosk, probably a Square reader. Again, they have tracked unique identifiers on you from the moment before you left your house, leaving your house, on the way to the beach, any stops you make, and then any purchases you make in the interim. And now brokers interacting with each of those stops along the way can trade information about you to build these very robust profiles about who you are, where you like to go, and what you like to spend your money on. All of this information is tracked, compiled, correlated, and then sold to advertisers. Now, maybe with all of that said, you can say to yourself, look, I guess I'm willing to accept that risk. You know, Facebook is a big company. They're going to protect my information, but they're going to give me more targeted ads. And if only it stopped there, but it doesn't. Data breaches happen all the time, especially within the tech industry. And Facebook does not have the best reputation when it comes to protecting our data. Back in 2018, there was evidence that they knew about a data breach. They knew hackers were within their system. They knew that our information was being stolen for 9 full months. Not 1, not 2, not 3 months, 9 full months before they did anything about it and before they told anybody about it. Okay, so I've been bashing on Facebook for quite a while now, but are they doing anything about this? They actually have. Last year, they released an off Facebook activity tracker. This tool allows Facebook users to opt out of tracking when people leave the Facebook app and are using other apps across different locations. This tool gives users an itemized list of websites, apps, and real stores that Facebook actually has been tracking and knows that you visited. And it allows users to actually opt out of Facebook tracking those specific entities. If you use Facebook and you want to limit the amount of information they're gathering on you, I would highly recommend you look into this specific off Facebook tracking tool. Now let's go back to Apple and Tim Cook's thoughts on this data hoarding. Here's an excerpt from Tim Cook on January 28th.
If a business is built on misleading users, on data exploitation, on choices that are no choices at all, then it does not deserve our praise. It deserves reform.
Ouch. No company was mentioned, but it was obvious it was aimed at tech titans like Google and Facebook. The rub between these two companies lies in the fundamental differences between their two business models. Apple is a lifestyle brand masquerading as a hardware company. Facebook is a data collection and selling company masquerading as a social media platform. And in Apple's case, they want to elevate the perceived value of being within their lifestyle brand. Now for Facebook, You are the product. They are always trying to gather more data on you so they can monetize you better to their advertisers. Tim Cook released an open letter to the public discussing the different issues of privacy and the steps that Apple takes to limit the use of data collection. In this open letter, Tim says, and I quote, "A few years ago, users of internet services began to realize that when an online service is free, you're not the customer, you're the product. But at Apple, we believe a great customer experience shouldn't come at the expense of your privacy." As you scroll through the landing page for Apple's privacy policies, you see how Apple continually reinforces the argument that your data is secure with them and only them. First, looking at Apple Safari, to Apple Maps, to iMessage, and this all leads us to the question of why all of this is happening right now. Apple is one of the world's most valuable companies, valued at $2.2 trillion. So why would they be picking a fight with another mega tech titan company? And as you can see from this, Facebook is also top 10 with a tremendous valuation. So I think that Apple's timing for releasing all of these privacy updates is for very specific reasoning. And it's not because I'm clairvoyant, it's because Tim Cook said it himself. When he was asked, he said that if you, quote, zoom out to the future and then look back and ask what was Apple's greatest contribution been, it will be in the health and wellness area. You already have the Apple Watch and the iPhone that track tons of health data. Plus, Apple just released Fitness Plus, which is a subscription service, which takes us back to Apple's privacy page, which they're trying to instill in us that if we give them our health-related data, that they will make sure that it is very securely protected. I expect to see Apple moving further into the health industry where they will be able to leverage their existing hardware ecosystem to provide us health data for every second of our lives. Given the choice, would you opt to prevent websites and social media from tracking your information? Since Apple holds about half of the total cell phone market, their decisions hold tremendous sway within that market. I also think that this will force Google, which owns the Android operating system, to create a very similar product to Apple's opt-out. If a significant portion of iOS and Android users opt out of information sharing, Facebook is going to be massively affected. Their profiles on us will become stale. Marketers, therefore, will become less effective with their ads, thereby reducing the actual advertising dollars they're going to be willing to spend on Facebook. And in short, Facebook will be going the way of the dodo bird. Yes, this guy right here. And for those of you not familiar with the dodo bird, they actually went extinct because they could not adapt with the changing times. And now for some practical and actionable tips for limiting personal data tracking. If you own an Apple device, I would recommend downloading the latest iOS and ask the app not to track. It's also a good idea to think about disabling location tracking on your phone for all apps. Now, what that'll do is nullify Google Maps or Apple Maps. So what you could do is you could turn it on for just those specific apps if you want them to continue tracking your location. Within social media platforms, many allow you to restrict what data they share with third parties. Another option is to download a plugin for your web browser. What that does is it'll block tracking of scripts across different websites. And another option, a fairly advanced one, is to use a VPN. So VPNs offer protection by anonymizing your IP address and your location. And in terms of investing, let me just be very clear. I'm not a financial planner, not a financial advisor. This is not investment advice. It's purely for information purposes. But what I will personally be doing is going long on Apple and short on Facebook, because I think that Apple stock is going to continue to climb while Facebook stock is going to start to nosedive over the next couple of years. Now, that's not only their stock, but also their products. I will be choosing to use Apple products and not use Facebook products. If you found this information valuable or entertaining, please hit that like button, subscribe, or leave a comment below. And always, thank you for joining, and I will see you in the next one.